House Budget Committee Chairman Paul Ryan unveiled his new budget plan this morning. A crucial component to this new budget is Medicare. Democrats are saying that Congressman Ryan's plan will gut that program. They've even released this movie poster, faux movie poster, starring Congressman Paul Ryan, Eric Cantor, and House Speaker John Boehner, warning the public they're back. For more on the renewed battle over the budget, Democratic Congressman Steve Israel joins us now live from Washington. He is the chairman of the Democratic Congressional Campaign Committee. Congressman, welcome to In Business. When you say they're back, is that the strategy, just to say this is the same program a year later?
Well, it's not the strategy, it is the fact. In fact, we just received just a few minutes ago the actual language of Paul Ryan's budget resolution. There is absolutely no difference, not a verb, not a syllable, no difference between the language last year that ended the guaranteed Medicare benefit and the language this year that ends the guaranteed Medicare benefit. This budget is best described as more for oil companies, less for seniors on Medicare. This is deja vu all over again.
Well, you say it's deja vu all over again, but the question of how to handle tax policy in this country has been up for debate most recently. What is it that you would do differently? Congressman Ryan wants to eliminate the AMT. He wants to reduce the corporate tax rate. These are things that may have some traction with your party, no?
Sure. Well, actually, let's take the AMT. This might be an example of a good starting point where Democrats and Republicans can have a conversation and get to a good place. I actually think that we ought to reform the AMT. I agree with Paul Ryan that the AMT needs reform, but like everything else in the budget, he goes too far. He completely eliminates the AMT. I just believe that when you have a debt, you've got to do the common sense things. You've got to reduce spending, which Democrats support, as long as it's smart. You got to increase revenues. Simply eliminating the AMT and saying to billionaires and oil company executives that, we're going to go back to the days where you don't have to pay anything doesn't make sense. But we should significantly increase the exemption for the AMT in order to protect the middle class. So that's an area where we can agree on. Where we can't agree on is the fuzzy math in this budget. Only in Washington and in this budget does 2 minus 2 equal 4. They are saying that you can reduce the corporate tax rate and at the same time be revenue neutral. It cannot be done. We want to see the details of how you're going to reduce the tax rate and be neutral.
Doing away with some of those loopholes, some of those credits. What are some of the loopholes and credits that you would consider doing away with?
$40 billion in subsidies to big oil companies every 10 years? Do we really need to be, does the middle class really need to be paying more at the pump when they fill up their car with gas and also continue to subsidize oil company executives $40 billion? The budget doesn't ask oil companies to sacrifice a nickel. It does ask seniors to sacrifice their guaranteed Medicare benefit. That's a fundamental difference between Democrats and Republicans.
Well, we know, regardless of what happens with this proposal, that the question of what's going to be happening with the existing tax policy initiated by the Bush administration, renewed by this administration, is going to come up for debate at the end of the year.
That's right.
How much of a showdown are we expecting here?
My sense is that it's going to be a fundamental dividing line between Democrats and Republicans. Now, I hope that there is a common sense compromise that we can arrive at. My own view is that reverting to tax rates for people making over $250,000, $250,000 may be wealthy in some areas of the country. It's not particularly lavish living in the communities that I represent on Long Island. No. I would like to work with the Republicans to see if we can find a common sense compromise that reduces the deficit, empowers entrepreneurs and small businesses, rebuilds the middle class, that asks people, billionaires and oil companies, to do a little more, but is also fair to middle class and working families. I hope we can get to that compromise.
You represent the 2nd Congressional District, so you've got a lot of people in your constituency who either work on Wall Street or live in some of the wealthier towns on Long Island. Yeah. For you and your definition of what is middle class and high income, what kind of income levels are you looking at?
Well, quite honestly, I have been advocating a compromise on the Bush tax cuts that would revert to the Clinton-era tax rates for salaries over $500,000. $250,000 again, it may make you wealthy in some areas of the country. It doesn't make you, again, it's not a lavish income in high cost of living areas like Long Island.
You're not the 1% there.
And so I've opposed the $250,000. I think we need to go with a higher income level.
500,000 was the number you said there?
That would be my starting point, yes.
Okay. Congressman Steve Israel, thank you very much for making time today and
Thank
giving
you.
us your response.